Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Spot Monkeys Live. I'm Tom, joined as always by Jim. We always tell you what number episode we're on, and Jim and I just talked about it literally less than 60 seconds ago, and I've already forgotten. I think this is episode 124. It is. Jim is nodding. Thank you, Jim. Wow. Short-term memory loss in the most extreme fashion. Well, we're happy to have you joining us this week for this episode. There's a lot going on in the world of wrestling. However, Jim and I, with life and everything that's been going on, we're not really caught up with what's happening in the current day of professional wrestling. So we thought, something we've never done before is a watch along. And so today you're going to be able to listen to us watching along to our first ever match here on Two Spot Monkeys Live. I set the table for that, but Jim, how's it going, bud?
Yeah, it's going well. And yeah, exactly. We've talked about doing this once or twice, and I like the way we're doing it today, where it's going to be one match because we don't have enough time the mornings that we record or the times that we record usually to do a full 2 or 3 hour show as a watch along. Sure, that'd be fun someday, but yeah, life just doesn't really allow that amount of time. So I like what we're doing here. Housekeeping note I shared with Tom right before we clicked record. Apologies if you listened on the podcast feed last week. There was a technical glitch at the beginning, and I thought it wasn't recording, and then I had to restart it. And when I listened back to the show earlier this week, I found out, I recorded all of that. So I'm glad I didn't say anything, horrible on the recording or anything. But apologies for the strange open to our episode 123. Hey, technology, ain't it grand? So yeah, that is what it is. Thankfully, like I say, I didn't say anything completely stupid. So
yeah. Well, don't we do that every week? Don't we say something completely stupid almost every week? So,
true.
That would have been an unintentional saying. Right. Usually, it's very intentional, even though we're not trying.
But would have been on brand for us. So
well, so and my audio is a little bit different today. I had headset issues, so if you're listening to the podcast, watching for this watch along, you're gonna not see Jim and I talking to each other, but more so talking with each other and responding as we watch our match. So with that being said, today's match, the match that we've chosen, very seasonal. We went back into the archives of 30 years ago. Yeah, 30 years ago.
It hurts to hear you say that.
Halloween Havoc 1993, which emanated live from New Orleans, Louisiana on October the 24th, 1993. And we're going to be kicking things off with the main event. The main event being Big Van Vader versus Cactus Jack, who have spun the wheel and made the deal. And they landed on Texas Deathmatch. So Jim and I are at 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 56 seconds when we hit play, which we'll do here momentarily. So you may not be able, if you're with us live today as we're recording, to do it alongside of us. But if you're listening later and you'd like to watch this match with our thoughts, musings, and commentary, that is the timestamp to do this. And we've never done this before. So if we do great, awesome. If we fail, it's our first time. So you don't master riding a bike when you jump on for the first time.
Absolutely. And we've proven that through 124 episodes. I'm not sure we've mastered this podcast thing, and we've jumped on the bike 124 times. So and that's in this iteration. Actually, there was the previous iteration that was, I don't know, 30 or 40 or 50 episodes. I can't remember. Many moons ago. But I quickly before we hit play, Tom, I don't know about you, but like Halloween Havoc has always kind of had a special place for me. Like it was one of the pay-per-views. I don't know why I always really enjoyed. They always did a really nice job theming the set and that kind of thing. And I don't know why Havoc always sticks to me. It kind of feels like, and you would think it would be the Great American Bash, but it kind of feels like WCW's kind of number 2 pay-per-view behind Starrcade. I don't know. It always felt that way to me. So I've always enjoyed Havoc's, and I love that NXT's brought it back.
Yeah, and I'll say for sure, when I was growing up, it was a distinct, unique thing that WWF wasn't doing. So having a Halloween themed event every year, I was a big PWI kid. If it wasn't like the local grocery store or a local like pharmacy where that sold magazines back when there was 150 magazines to choose from, which now that's not the case anymore in 2023 with media like changing. I would always be on the hunt for the monthly PWI, and then of course I was always I think 2 or 3 months behind with photos, but PWI was my gateway to seeing kind of photos from events like a Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a huge PWI and Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler and any of those magazines I could get my hands on. I wish I would have kept them. I don't have a single one of them anymore. Even until recently, and I haven't the last few years. I haven't even looked, and they're harder to find. But even until into my 40s, I was, if I could get my hands at least on the PWI 500, I always wanted to do that. That was a big issue. So that was fun. And yeah, absolutely. Getting those photos from events maybe you didn't see, if you didn't buy that pay-per-view or that kind of thing. So, memories, right? Memories.
Sounds good.
What do you think, Tom? Should we kick this thing off and see how it goes?
That's what we're here for. So, all right, I'm ready to hit play. If you're ready to hit play, in 3,
all right,
2, 1, play.
All right.
So as it's opening up on my end, they're previewing the Texas Deathmatch rules. So again, I don't know what all of the wheel options were for this event, but they're running down. Rule number 1, no DQ. Number 2, falls don't count. Number 3, 30-minute rest between falls.
30 seconds.
Yes. What did I say? 30 minute.
30 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Falls any place in the building, and then I messed up, so I didn't see number 5.
The thing I really like, and it's very WCW, and here you see Tony Schiavone dressed as Jesse the Body Ventura, which is just outstanding, was that rule number 2 is falls don't count, and rule number 3 was 30-second rest between falls. Or rule number 2 was falls don't count. Rule number 3 was 30-second rest between falls. What? Falls don't count, but yet there's falls, so there's a 30-second rest. And I understand it's the you've got to, I believe that last rule was you have to be able to not answer the bell, the 10 count after a fall. But it was just a very strange way to word it for them, that falls don't count, and there's a 30-second rest between those falls that don't count.
It's almost like a last man standing match with pinfalls, but then they're negating the value of pinfalls.
Right, you got to pin them and then get the 10 count, if I remember right. You got the Halloween Havoc set here. There's a noose above the R.I.P. Vader headstone. There's the wheel in the background there. Like I said, I always loved these sets, Tom. They were
I love the horns off of the wheel. Like where and why? Like the horns just seem very random. Like bull horns.
Right, and if this was in Texas, it was in Louisiana, as you said. If this was in Texas, maybe I could understand the Longhorns, but it's in New Orleans. So
one thing I don't know. I started to jump in there. One thing I don't know about Vader with his like big mastodon or whatever headgear, how frequently or infrequently that was used. I know it was a very big deal in Japan. I know it was maybe infrequent in WCW. If there was ever a night where that would have been a great use, it would have been Halloween Havoc. And here he comes out. No pomp and circumstance. He's just Vader in his black and red gear, accompanied by Harley Race. He's the world heavyweight champion of WCW at this time. This is a non-title match, which would make sense because it's kind of a gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely. The mask was a huge piece of his presentation. I remember I did look up right before, and we're going right to the action here. Cactus Jack jumping Vader, but I remember Vader. It was Great American Bash 1990, his first NWA WCW appearance with that mask. He murdered Tom Zink that night, but it was such a cool part of it. It's one of the reasons directly behind my head. I think I'm blocking it as the Legends Vader figure, and it's one of the reasons I bought it because it came with that cool mask. So. And
Vader, speaking of masks, Vader rips off his mask less than a minute into this. This is just a real Pier 6 brawl, as they would say, and maybe even Tony or Jesse the Body are calling it that already. If we were actually listening to their commentary, this is interesting for me. When I think of Cactus Jack at this time, being that it's '93, like I remember when I really got into wrestling from a whole different level. It was 93, 94, and it was the beginning of tape trading. And I remember this was a year later, but Cactus Jack around the same time being a fixture in ECW. And that was the first ever tape I bought from a tape vendor. And again, Cactus Jack in ECW, which came from the genesis of this and all this time, and clearly the relationship we have with Paul Heyman through their time in WCW.
Yeah, absolutely. My first memory of Cactus Jack, holy unprotected chair.
That was a nice hard chair shot right to the forehead of Bayley. And that's a dirty chair too. That chair just looks gross. Like,
yeah.
I don't know about like where you've seen like folding chairs like that before, like high school gyms or churches or things that have just collected over time. That appears to be one of those chairs that just like was in the back of the room. There was maybe a leak. It got rusty. It's dingy.
And Cactus thought, hey, let's use this one to whack Vader with.
Exactly.
So, comes with a tetanus shot. It'll be great. My first memories of Jack go back actually earlier than this. Back in the probably 88-ish era, seeing him on WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, on ESPN when World Class was on there. I was an avid viewer of World Class and AWA on ESPN both. And Jack had a cup of coffee in AWA, I believe, as well. But World Class, he was a fixture there. And so seeing him there and then really, seeing his character grow in WCW was pretty cool. And just potatoing the out of
he's slugging him. He's throwing heavy hands. And again, which is not surprising. And Jack's checking his cheeks for bruising or blood. It looks like his right cheek definitely has a mouse. Let me know your thoughts on Nick Patrick as a referee. Nick Patrick is the referee in this match. I always found Nick Patrick prior to his heel turn when he was the NWO ref just to be a unique referee. Here he's got what appears to be Reebok pumps on. I don't know for sure if they're Reebok pumps, but they give me the Reebok pump vibe.
Yeah, and they're very, black and white, so it goes with the referee motif, I guess, even though they're wearing the blue button downs and bow ties here in WCW at this time. Nick Patrick was he was a ref who stood out, I guess, and he fit perfectly into that NWO ref once they needed a ref to turn. He also looks a lot of times, I feel like he's awkward in his movements. So like even here, he stops standing in front of the camera, and B, like he looks like he doesn't know where to go sometimes. So
Jack returned fire on Vader with some fists, but he was hitting him like in his collarbone shoulder area. But then he hits Harley Race with even a better punch than he threw on Vader. It's almost like he didn't want to give Vader a receipt.
Right. And Harley told him, lay it in, kid.
And we got color on Jack. So that mouse, I saw the mouse under his right eye. He's now got blood coming down under his left eye here. That's got to be clearly from those punches earlier.
Yeah, those are. Vader was not known to be gentle.
They fell into the floor here. There's lighting and there's fog. I don't remember if this was used earlier. It looks like a grave, which is crazy. But they're like in this hole, and there's like fog coming out.
Stairs to get out of the grave, which is helpful. Definitely an unplanned spot. They didn't put stairs there for any reason.
Do you notice the snake on the set? Like, why is there a snake at Halloween Havoc? Is it the spin the wheel motif?
Yeah, bleeding all over the place.
Man, his eye. That is a bad spot in his eye.
Yeah, I think they just went for creepy things sometimes on the set. Snakes, spiders, the like, that sort of thing. So,
Vader coming up bleeding. Which clearly that's why they went through the floor.
Right, and stayed away from any shot on Vader until he was emerging. So it's funny how you can see those things now when you know things right. And Jack whacks him with a clothesline.
That's a nice area. So Jack got the fall there. So Jack got the 3 count on the nice clothesline on the rampway. And so now, even though pinfalls don't count, now Vader has to answer the call.
And it looked, and we're not listening to the commentary here, but it looked to me like Nick Patrick was saying he has 30 seconds, that 30-second rest period. And I believe it's, can he answer the bell, basically, after the 30 seconds. Cactus Jack grabbing a cactus, his namesake, looks made out of maybe wood, probably cardboard.
It looks like it's got the consistency of wood. Yeah, that's wood. Or it's a heavy plastic. That had some weight behind it.
Nick Patrick was counting Vader before Cactus hit him with the cactus, which is not a sentence I thought I was going to say this morning.
What were your thoughts about blood in wrestling when you were growing up? Like, clearly before you became a more informed fan, and Jack hits a great elbow. Man, that's a deep drop off the stage.
Yep, gets another fall. I of course, before I became, I don't want to say a smarter fan, but you know what I'm saying, more aware of how things happen. Like, blood always, it worked as making it more realistic, making it more like, oh man, these guys are really tearing into each other. They're bleeding, Although then, as I kind of kept watching and I realized like that, if a stiff breeze hit Ric Flair in the head, he started bleeding, or Dusty Rhodes, or, some of those folks. Blood seemed to always be used a little bit more, especially in the 80s and 90s in WCW. And obviously then just went, all out in ECW. But not as much in WWF. That was always, I remember the Brutus Beefcake when Ron Bass was running the spurs across his head, and they did the black and white, the big X across the screen, because it was so graphic and, whatever. Now, of course, WWF was marketed more to kids than WCW was. Although WCW, they had action figures, they had kids stuff. I mean, they were trying to do both, but WWF figured out that there was an awful lot of money to be made from selling to kids, and they really geared towards that. So,
well, I imagine if you were on in syndication at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. on a Saturday, and then you've got Brutus Beefcake bleeding all over the place, maybe that doesn't go well with your advertisers.
I always love when wrestlers put tables in the ring and don't bother to put the legs down or anything. They're just, chucking them in there.
And this table follows the same suit as the dirty chair. Like, this looks like this was on the floor of this arena. This was I don't know if it was the Lakefront Arena, or Lakefront Arena probably then. Maybe this is the Uno Arena now, or UNO. I think AEW ran here. I think Ring of Honor's run here in more recent years. But yeah, it's like they were like, what can we find in the back of this building that no one will care about that we can use as a prop in this match?
And I like that Nick Patrick turned the table around because he thought these two are just crazy enough they'll throw each other into the legs of the thing. So let's actually flip it so that is it a plastic table? No, it's wood. Never mind. It's wood.
When Vader does a complete belly flop on it, and it does it does nothing to the table whatsoever.
That's strong. That's why for a second I thought it was plastic, because it seemed, not that plastic's stronger than wood, but doesn't snap as easily. Cactus just tipping the table right over into Vader's head. That's fun. And then there again, Nick Patrick flipping the table for him. Like, is Patrick the third man in this ring in the match? I mean, can he win a fall? What's going on here?
Cactus does the nesty. Oh, now that was the nesty plunge. It was a sunset flip. He didn't get Vader over, but then Vader went for the sit down, and Cactus moves, and so Vader goes butt first, right on the blue mats.
Yeah, those blue mats are a half-inch thick on concrete. I mean, they're there because the commissions require them, but boy, they're not really padding anything at that point. Belly first on the guardrail, and it's Take a Vader Home night. Orleans.
Oh, Cactus does a running dive over the guardrail, seemingly catching Vader in the chin with his heel, but eating the fall on the ground. And Vader goes, well, in return, I'm going to punch you in the face 7 more times.
Now here's what I love. Like, You and I have been lucky enough to be front row or ringside for many events, not maybe this level of event or this size crowd, but for events. And the general thing is, if the action comes your way, move, like get out of the way. And these folks are not moving at all. Like they're just hanging out. Now they're back in the ringside area though, and Vader
this is one of those like actual I want to say stadium chairs, but it's like a more comfy chair. But Vader does not do any justice to Jack with hitting him with the exposed metal aspects of it.
Harley had something in his hand there, and it was pushing the camera away. Was that like a stun gun or something? It looked like
it's a black I won't call it a device, but maybe it's not a device. A black gimmick.
Yeah, now Vader getting ready to go. Looks like for the Vader bomb here, but I didn't get a good enough look, and I've got split screen going on my screen here. So
Vader salt, going for the Vader moonsault.
Going to the top. Yeah. That is a big man to come off the top, and there he hits it.
He hits it. Yep. Okay, so look at Nick Patrick's right hand. Like that thing was something that stuck out to me as a kid all the time as Vader gets his first fall. It was always by the wrestler being pin's shoulder. And I felt like that was always the dead giveaway.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And it makes sense like that you're checking the shoulder or whatever, but I don't care who you are, but if a man Vader size lands on you from the top rope, I don't care if he flips or not doing a moonsault. If he lands on you from the top rope, you should be done. That should be the end. I don't care how tough you are, and I know that that's part of it. You sell how tough Cactus Jack is, and a hard kick and here come the punches that just, my goodness. I mean, trademark Vader punches and trademark not missing at all.
Jack gets whipped out onto the rampway, and here comes the dirty chair again, trying to be introduced by Harley Race.
Man, that thing is tetanus filled.
I'm surprised that Jack's cut has kind of stopped, but Vader's has been a pretty consistent stream. Oh, and Vader does the Jack was on like a backpack. Vader throws his weight back onto the stage and crushes Jack. That actually looked more devastating than the moonsault.
And Annette reminded us in the comments that Nick Patrick's father was Jody Hamilton, the assassin, as well, wrestling legend. And yeah, that's definitely how Nick Patrick, and just, oh my goodness, Vader swinging like a baseball bat at Cactus's head with that chair. It's funny watching matches back like this now, 30 years later, knowing what we know about concussions and CTE and all of that. I mean, it's hard to watch sometimes. Some of the shots.
Vader hit the DDT on the chair, which I feel like is the first time I've ever thought of Vader doing a DDT. Like with a man his size, I could just feel like Jack doing a DDT would have made sense, but Vader, okay.
Yeah. Jack always has the double arm.
So here's the thing. Now there's appears to be a doctor checking on Jack, which is so interesting. Actually, the whole team. While Doug Dillinger's there, head of security for WCW, but it's
the other guys are just kind of standing there around. The rest of the team, like, yeah, they're about to get their butt kicked. Is what's about. Nope, they're out of here. They smart men. Vader comes over, looks angry. They just leave Jack, and we were checking on him, but
and Vader ejects the EMT bag. He spikes the chair on the stage. We still don't know what Harley Race had in his hand. As Vader gets another pinfall.
Vader remembers he was supposed to pin him before, walking around for 30 seconds. Now he goes back, same pose, same area that he just did. It's like he almost remembered, like, oh yeah, I got to do that.
Oh, here it is.
Here's the gimmick again there. Jack setting something up here. He's going for his own DDT on the chair. Yep.
Return favor. Yep.
You drop me on my head, I'll drop you on yours. That was 90s wrestling.
And Vader's down, so if Jack was really in danger, where is the medical team to come back and check on him? But he's now got blood from the other side of his head. So he was bleeding previously on the left side. He's now bleeding on the right side, which maybe was what happened. Oh, and that it is, Jim, you called it right. Stun gun to the right thigh of Cactus Jack by Harley Race.
Nick Patrick being very demonstrative. I think he might have. Did he call it?
Is that how Vader wins this match? Jack can't answer the call because he gets stun gunned in the right thigh?
Oh, now Vader shoves Harley for no reason other than the fact that he's Vader. Yeah, this is the bad part. This is the bad. Oh, Cactus with a double arm DDT on Harley Race, who sells it like he just got shot. My goodness, what a sell by Harley. Maybe it wasn't a sell. Maybe he knocked him out. I don't know.
The best part is Harley Race is not letting go of the stun gun.
Going to
I'm
the wide.
Surprised that's it. That is it. That was
the finish.
Okay. Wow. I really enjoyed everything up until the end.
Yeah, it was a hard-hitting match and a kind of a womp-womp finish there. And I didn't remember the finish to this match at all. I remembered that they had the match, but I couldn't have told you even who won the match. Although it makes sense for Vader to win the match just in that he was the world champion, as you said. And if Vader was going to win the match, why not make it for the title?
Or if
we've gone to credits, Virgil Runnels.
If Jack was going to win, why not use that as a platform to have him versus Vader for the title at Fall Brawl, or whatever? No, Fall Brawl would have been in September most likely, and this is October. Stark.
Yeah, Stark probably would have been the next.
Again, our top-notch research team, who did a lot of work for this match today, I will give them credit for that. Did not look ahead to what came after this match in the issue between Big Van Vader and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, so and eventually, of course, they have their match in Germany, where Cactus loses part of his ear. I believe that was after this match again. Crackpot research team. I can probably pull that up actually because I do have Pro Fight DB up, which is one of my favorite places to do a little research when I actually get around to doing that. I don't have the places, but anyways, Vader and Jack wrestled a ton. Just as I'm sitting here scrolling through their history, so they wrestled a whole bunch. I think in looking, there's a German flag next to some matches in '94. I think that was where the infamous ear incident happened. So a year later or so, around a year later.
So it's super interesting, like you pointed out, Virgil Runnels, aka Dusty Rhodes, the senior producer of this event, which is interesting that is very TBS or Turner Broadcasting thing. You know, you're not the booker, you're the senior producer.
Yep.
And then it's interesting as the credits continue to roll on. I actually had to go back and rewind because I really wanted to see the names and name them off. Assistants to Mr. Runnels. So wait, I don't know if you caught this, but I just want you to hear this list of pro wrestling legend names. The aforementioned Jody Hamilton, Bill Dundee, Greg Gagne, Mike Graham, and then Janie Engel. Which Janie Engel, I think, maybe the only one not like a true pro wrestler, but then that's a name I've heard forever in the stories of WCW. So, and again, assistants to Mr. Runnels. So part of the booking committee or something else,
right? Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's fun that that you see those names, and WCW always ran those credits. I don't remember really WWE running those credits as often. And WCW didn't, and it is fun to go back and look and see the different names. Sometimes the work name, sometimes the shoot name that you see under people. You know, Dusty was always listed as Virgil Runnels on those. I remember that. So yeah, I loved early 90s WCW. Like, that was just fun WCW to me. The Monday Night Wars were great too, and that sort of thing. But that early 90s, Vader and Sting and Ron Simmons and, even Luger, was just, that was peak fun for me in WCW. I enjoyed, and some of it was great wrestling, and some of it was just, ridiculousness, the ding dongs and the, and some of this is probably in the late 80s, but the ding dongs and the, what was Shane Douglas and Johnny Ace, the Dynamic Dudes. That was back probably 89-ish. Late 80s, early 90s WCW was just something I really enjoyed as a fan. And, that would have been probably, late 80s, early 90s. I was 12, 13, somewhere in there years old. So kind of, I don't want to say peak fandom because, I don't know that I've ever really, once I really got into wrestling, I don't know that I've ever waned in my fandom. And if you look around at the number of DVDs and wrestling action figures I have in this man cave down here, that would seem to prove that. My wife once asked me, "How much have you spent on action figures?" I said, "We don't talk about that. It's a number we don't discuss."
That's the hidden line item in the agenda, in the disclosure of expenses.
Yeah, it's and are most of them worth even what I paid for them anymore? Some of them not so much. Some of them more, probably. I haven't really done a lot of research on that, but some of them I know are, I paid $20 for them and they're worth $8. So good investment. I didn't do it for investment, but yeah, that's just fun stuff. Van Hammer, and that just said, yeah, Van Hammer. So funny Van Hammer story, and maybe I've told it here on the show before. So WCW, late 80s, early 90s, used to run Boylan Catholic High School in Rockford, Illinois, where I grew up. And so I would go anytime they were at Boylan. It was a fundraiser for the high school. They did, both WWF and WCW did a lot of those kinds of shows, fundraisers for boosters and things before they were running as big of arenas for house shows all the time. And so we go to Boylan. AWA had run there before, and then WCW ran there. And I was standing watching the show. I don't know why I wasn't sitting down. Maybe I'd gotten up to get something to eat or drink or whatever, going to the bathroom. I was standing waiting to go back to my seat, I think. And I'm standing next to this huge guy. He's got long curly hair. I don't recognize it. I mean, I have no idea who he is. I thought he's just where they were watching the show. Because you often had people at the show who were kind of the workout, the gym rats, around and whatever. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to get a shot with WCW or whatever. Maybe they just were fans. So I just thought it was some dude, whatever. And so I'm chatting with this guy, we're just talking about the match happening in the ring and whatever, and storylines or whatever. I mean, I can't tell you exactly what the conversation was, but it was just small talk. Match ends. I'm going to go back to my seat. All right, kid, see you later. I'm 12 years old, whatever. And 2 matches later, Van Hammer comes out. I've not seen Van Hammer until this point on WCW TV. And I'm like, holy crap, that was Van Hammer I was talking to. So, yeah, that was my little brush with Van Hammer. I won't say brush with greatness by any means, but if you listen to Van Hammer, he was supposed to be the next big thing in WCW, and it didn't quite work that way for him.
Yeah, I feel like Van Hammer with the gimmick was maybe about 5 years too late. Like, if he came out when the rise of MTV was happening more so, then maybe. But we'll see. Who knows? Again,
he had a good look. He was a guy in shape. All of that, but yeah, gimmick wise, and just as Bruce Pritchard says sometimes, and then they ring that bell, and then things go sideways sometimes when they ring that bell and you actually have to perform in the ring. And Van Hammer wasn't necessarily known as one of the best. So, Tom, that I run a trivia company on the side, and I was talking to somebody a week or two back, and I've often thought I should do a round called Dead or Alive and name celebrities and are they dead or alive? And the reason that I bring that up is I'm just sitting here trying to remember, is Van Hammer still alive? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I did. I think he is, but I just, unfortunately, so many of those people, from the 80s and 90s are gone now. I think Van Hammer's still alive, but okay, morbid topic here for the moment.
Well, we didn't do it with Vader. I mean, so that would have been a reminiscing component. So you're not out of bounds. It's okay.
Right. Yeah, Vader's gone, Harley's gone. Amazingly, Jack's still with us, which is great. With all the punishment that man put his body through. I did hear on a podcast a couple of weeks back, we have now hit a turning point with, I believe, the passing of the Iron Sheik, where more people who are on WrestleMania 1 are gone than are still with us.
Wow.
So it's shifted. There's actually only 2 matches on WrestleMania 1 that have both participants are still alive, which is kind of a little crazy. Annette says, yes, Van Hammer is still alive. So good to hear. Good to hear. Glad Van Hammer's still with us. 2 matches from WrestleMania 1 where the participants are all still with us. Not counting referees, though. But, any chance you would know those 2 matches, Tom? I'm totally putting you on the spot here, but...
the Tito Santana match and the Hulk Hogan match.
Nope.
Or is this everybody in the match is alive?
Everybody in the match is alive.
Oh, got it. Yeah, then no, I have no...
Yeah, Tito wrestled the Executioner, which was Buddy Rose, and Buddy Rose has passed. And then in the main, Piper is gone from that main event.
Paul Orndorff is too, right?
And Paul Orndorff, yes, that's right. Paul Orndorff passed recently as well, or in the last year or two. It's Wendy Richter against Leilani Kai, or Judy Martin, one of the 2. Leilani Kai, I believe, and Brutus Beefcake versus David Sammartino. Those are the 2 matches left from WrestleMania where the participants are left, which is kind of you forget those were even on there actually. And Annette lets us know that Van Hammer is 63 years old, so 63 years old and doing well. So good for Van Hammer. So Tom, that was fun to do a watch along, and I'd be interested to get feedback from folks. Feel free to leave comments on our YouTube page, on our Facebook, on our Twitter. Send us emails, whatever. JuiceBotMonkeys@gmail.com is actually an email address we have that we almost never plug. So feel free to email us as well, and let us know if you enjoyed that, or if you have other matches you'd like us to do watch-alongs. A lot of times we have specific things we know we want to talk about because we're caught up on wrestling, or there's head-to-head picks to make, or there's a reaction to head-to-head events, premium live events. Which, speaking of which, we've added another premium live event, Tom. I don't. Spoiler alert, maybe for you, because I know you haven't finished Dynamite. AEW has announced their December pay-per-view. So December 30th, World's End in New York. So,
okay.
No storyline.
New York, or
good question. World's End AEW Crackpot Research Team tells me that it is in Long Island.
Long Island, okay.
Yep. Long Island, the National Veterans Memorial Coliseum. There were rumors it was going to be at Hammerstein, but it's not. So
Long Island MJF. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and I know we're not talking live or up to date wrestling this week, and you may know this based on where you're at with Dynamite. You may have seen it on the other hand. I just think it's important noting whether it actually materializes into a full match or not. The idea that MJF versus Kenny Omega is happening, or it's booked for Collision this weekend. Arguably, that's the biggest match in Collision history.
I don't think it's arguable. 100% it is.
I wasn't remembering every single match that Collision's ever had, but for me, that's a pretty big deal. And it seems like just with the brief things I've seen with Dynamite this week, they're looking to inject some juice into the TV product. Maybe that's just a perception that I have. That's not anything more than just me thinking that.
No, I agree, and I have to admit I'm out of town on Saturday night. We're going to a comedian show on Saturday night in Omaha, about 2.5 hours away, staying over and then driving back on Sunday. So this is one of the weeks where I'm a little bummed I'm not home Saturday night, because I probably, if we weren't doing anything, I'd try to come down and watch Collision as it happens. In the first Fantasy Wrestling League comment of the day, we had to get one in 39:24 before I said it, which might be a record actually. I own Kenny Omega in that league and would love him to win the title. I don't foresee that happening because I think there's a lot of other stories, and you're just kind of getting into this story of kind of everybody gunning for MJF. So I don't think him losing the title right away in that story makes a whole lot of sense. But I like that they're doing it and they're playing off the fact that if MJF gets past Omega, then he passes Omega as, I believe, the longest reigning AEW champion ever, which is interesting that they just brought it up like a week ago, that it's been coming, and they just brought it. And I loved how they did it a week ago, where they had kind of, you have MJF who's still playing babyface basically most of the time, although not really changing a whole lot. I mean, he does a little more babyface stuff, but I love the whole "I'm your scumbag" thing. I like it. I'm enjoying the MJF thing. But then when he leans in and says 13 days, bitch, to Kenny, I thought it was great. It was subtle and it was very MJF.
And Kenny has a great retort to that on Dynamite. So when you get there, you're gonna love the interplay there. So
good. No, I'm looking, and so by the time I get home Sunday, I got to get some things done, and then the Bears play Sunday night. I don't know exactly when I'll get to Collision. I'm hoping to get to it Sunday afternoon, but I'm looking forward to seeing it because those are two of the best in the world.
I know you love the Bears, but let me ask you this: what's going to be more entertaining, the Bears and the Chargers or Collision? Come on, Jim. Save yourself the misery.
Yeah, it's probably going to be ugly Sunday night. It probably is. Tyson Bagent, baby, 1-0. Tyson Bagent. It was the Raiders, but 1-0 nonetheless. And the Raiders led by Brian Ware.
And there's no football this weekend for me. No college football that I'm into. My team plays on Monday Night Football. So, again, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself Saturday and Sunday. I mean, I do know what I'll do with myself. I'll not be watching a lot of football like I normally do, but hopefully the weather cooperates to get some fall cleanup done, but we'll see. That's not what you're here for. This is not a gardening or yard podcast. It's the pro wrestling podcast.
What are you guys going to do this weekend? Yeah, with Two Spot Monkeys.
Yeah, we will be back next week. All plans being solid as of now, and I believe that they'll remain solid. When we come back a week from today, it is back time to get on the horse for pick'ems, and we've got Crown Jewel next weekend. So when we're back a week from now, we'll have probably some good AEW reflection, and then WWE Crown Jewel with 5 matches already announced, and the lineup looks really good. So I'm excited to talk about that, and I better start watching some WWE again.
Right, and it really does. It looks like I haven't watched a Crown Jewel in quite some time. Yes, some of it's the Saudi stuff, but let's be honest, it doesn't matter if I watch it. That doesn't affect anything with that deal. I can stake my protest, I can whatever, but it doesn't matter in the long scheme, if I'm being honest. And so some of it's that, but some of it's just been, for a while, Crown Jewel was kind of like a jacked up house show. And then they started making it more important over the last number of them. And a lot of times it's just been, I haven't had time. I've had something else going on. Sometimes they've been on like Thursdays, and things like that. So like I'm at work, and so I'm not going to have time to do that. But where it's on a Saturday, I think it's Saturday, right? The 4th.
Yes.
If I'm not doing anything that day, this one I might watch, because I'm definitely interested in a few of those. I'm definitely interested to see LA Knight in the main event. I think that's awesome. The women's match looks really good. Cody's got a match. Rollins McIntyre. I was trying to remember who Rollins was defending against. And then, of course, Logan Paul, working all the big shows to get all the big money. So we'll see where that all leads. But, that show looks fun, and I'm sure they'll flesh out some more here on SmackDown and Raw. I do have to say really quickly before we go, I'm enjoying the interplay between Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, which seems to be leading us to a SmackDown versus Raw War Games match at Survivor Series, or at least that's where I think it's headed.
Which isn't what we had wanted. We wanted, which they still could have done, give us two War Games matches is probably too much, unless it's like a men's match or a women's match. But yeah, Raw versus SmackDown would be cool. I wanted Bloodline and Friends versus, Bloodline and Judgment Day versus the
Cody,
Kevin Owens collective. Cody, the American Nightmares. Let's call them that.
There you go. Hey, going back to the old Survivor Series, giving the team names. I like that.
That'd be cool.
I did enjoy that back in the day. So, so we'll be back with Crown Jewel picks and more at that point. So that'll be fun. And as always, anything you want us to talk about, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook. Again, that email, twоспotmonkeys@gmail.com is available as well. So let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about, because after all, it's fun for us to talk, but we want you to enjoy it. If you're going to download it and give us that, 45 minutes to an hour every week or so that we do this. So, Tom, anything else before we head on out?
For anyone listening or watching, thank you. If you have been hearing this snoring dog in the background, we fostered a dog in the last week. He has been cutting logs in the background. So if that comes through on audio, because I don't have a mic today, you can thank King. His name is King. He has been a great addition as we foster. We're not going to be foster fails, but he's snoozing in the background today. So
I haven't heard it, so okay. I think it's okay. But if nothing else, King's debut on Two Spot Monkeys Live. So, well, everybody have a great week, and we'll be back with you next week here on Two Spot Monkeys Live.